of the listening and viewing audience. The Caroni water treatment plant plays a crucial role in Trinidad's water supply sector, providing 75,000 imperial million gallons per day to communities in North and South Trinidad, accounting for 31% of the nation's total water production. The Caroni plant is essential to Trinidad's and Tobago's water sector. As the authority embarks on its transformation, focusing on leveraging technology, a very crucial part of our network, to enable data-driven decision-making, our primary goal remains to deliver a consistent and reliable water supply to all customers. The recent commissioning, as you would have heard CEO mention, of WASA's Operational Control Center marks a significant milestone towards the authority's aim to improve our service to customers, as it establishes a centralized hub for monitoring and controlling all aspects of our service and allows for a faster response to any inefficiencies in our network. This development, however, necessitates upgrades to our infrastructure to ensure seamless integration into the new system and ultimately benefiting our customers. Consequently, the authority must undertake a temporary shutdown of the Caroni water treatment plant to facilitate these essential upgrades. During this exercise, infrastructural upgrades and critical maintenance and repairs on the transmission and distribution network deemed crucial to improve operational reliability will be conducted. The shutdown of the Caroni water treatment plant has been officially scheduled to commence over a 3-day period from 12 p.m. on Friday, August 9th to 12 p.m. on Sunday, August 11th, 2024. During the shutdown, the following planned activities aimed at enhancing the authority's remote monitoring capabilities will be conducted. Installation of insertion meters at the flow control station in Piaco, Maritime East, Barataria, and Shogunas. Installation of 136-inch meter at the El Socorro booster station. Installation of 1 12-inch inline meter on the Piaco offtake North Bank Road. This is the Caroni North system, and 1 12-inch meter at Warden offtake Caroni South system. Installation of 1 20-inch meter of the Londonville offtake Caroni South system. In addition, via a contractor, the authority will be installing a 2.0 MVA transformer at the raw water intake at the Caroni plant. This job is crucial to ensure the reliability of the raw water station. Several regional maintenance and repair activities will also be conducted within the North and South regions to improve service reliability and operational efficiency. Some of these planned works include the sludging and cleaning operations at the Caroni plant, repair to 36-inch transmission main along the South Trunk Road, replacement of 8-inch gate valves at Waterloo and Phoenix Park, mechanical maintenance work at strategic booster stations in El Socorro, Valsain, South Oropouche, and San Fernando. Repair to an air valve of the 36-inch transmission main in the vicinity of Bamboo No. 1 along the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway, replacement of online valves at the Valsain B transmission main in Morval Junction, replacement of 20-inch transmission main valve at the St. James Police Barracks. It is integral to note that these works will be occurring simultaneously, where several crews will be placed on each site, all working diligently to conclude the necessary works within the estimated time frame of the shutdown. In addition to successfully completing all works, the authority will seek to conduct planned dewatering of the North and South transmission mains at several locations identified. This will entail controlled operation of several washouts not to be mistaken for leaks. The shutdown will impact approximately 500,000 persons within Trinidad as follows. North Trinidad served by the Valsain booster stations A and B, St. Augustine, Mount Hope, Sanwa, Laventil, Success Village, Laventil, Trumacat, Champlain, Santa Cruz, Bagatelle, Fable Village, Malik. North Trinidad served by the El Socorro Booster Station, Barataria, Morva, East Dry River, Port of Spain, St. Barb's, Gonzales, St. Anne's, Cascade, DB, Long Circular, St. James, Cocorite, Belmont. South and Central Trinidad, Piaco, Canopia, Chaguanas, Caroni, North and South Bank Road, Endeavour, Gillingham Road, Lange Park, Felicity, Caroni, Savannah Road, Bank Village, Carapichaima, McBean, Windsor Park, Claxton Bay, Londonville, California, Waterloo, St. Mary's, Cuba, Esperanza, Philippines. And in the Southwest Peninsula from San Fernando to Point Fortin, DB, Siparia, Labre, South Oropouche, Pinal, Faizabad, Rosilac, and Avocat. Customers in these areas will be impacted by this temporary service interruption or reduced water supply pressure during the shutdown period. As a result, the authority will be implementing several mitigation measures to minimize the impact of the shutdown through the following: the use of alternative water supply, temporary increase of production at Navet Water Treatment Plant to full production to supplement the shortfall in supply, with Caroni plant being out of operation for the duration of the shutdown. All production facilities in the North Central and Northwest districts, including El Socorro High Lift, Valsain High Lift, Marval Water Treatment Plant, Tacarigua High Lift, and Aruca High Lift, will be in full operation to both supplement the shortfall in supply and redistribute water to impacted communities so as to confine the disruption to only those communities served solely by the Caroni Water Treatment Plant. Distribution of truck-borne water will be implemented and employed in both North and South regions impacted during the disruption of supply, with temporary fill-in bays being operationalized to alleviate the impact on customers affected. Regular updates to the public and stakeholders through local media, social media, and the customer call center will be provided. Additionally, temporary schedules will be published to advise affected communities of the revised dates for water supply to be restored until complete recovery and stabilization of the network. As I conclude, the planned shutdown for the Caroni Arena Water Treatment Plant for the period 9th to the 11th of August 2024 is essential for ensuring continued efficiency and improvements in service delivery to customers, as it is an integral part of the ongoing transformation of the authority. By implementing thorough mitigation measures and maintaining transparent communication with stakeholders, the authority aims to minimize the impact of this temporary disruption to ultimately enhance our infrastructure to ensure operational efficiency and reliability for the future. I must also encourage persons to conserve during this period of the disruption until the supply and the network is fully restored. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ali, for those details in relation to the approaching shutdown. Of course, we would have heard basically some out of the details provided here that we have basically, this is part of puzzle, so to speak, that's being put together here at the authority in relation to bringing about some significant improvement in service to our customers based on the implementation of different, the execution of different projects. So coming to provide some more information in relation to one aspect of the works to be undertaken on next week is Ms. Alicia Romano, the Acting Director of Corporate Services, who will speak to the valves and those valves that will be installed and what it would mean in terms of the service to our customers. Alicia?
So good morning all, and Just a correction, it's not valves, it's meters, so bulk meters at 7 remaining offtake. So we would have started this project about a year or so ago to ensure that at each offtake point of our 5 major transmission lines, which would be the distribution line leaving North Oropouche, Navet, Hollis, and Caroni. Caroni has 2 transmission lines, one that goes north and the other one south. So of those 5 transmission lines, there were approximately 124 points of meter installation, and we would have completed all except for these remaining 7. The work was actually supposed to be completed quite a few months ago, but because of the very harsh dry season that we all know that we were experiencing, these works were postponed to a time when we believe that it would have the least impact on the population. So yes, the population will be impacted, but as Director of Operations would have articulated, WASA would have put all necessary measures in place with regard to ramping up our production at different facilities so that we could redirect water as well as increased water trucking availability. I would really just like to emphasize that these are planned works. So this is not an emergency that WASA is having, and this really moves towards the transformation that we are experiencing, whereby WASA intends to be far more proactive in its ability to become more resilient and have a more reliable service to our customers, increasing our operational efficiency. Now, the value of the meters are really twofold. One of the major advantages of these meters and being installed is our ability to actually create a water balance off of our 4 major facilities. In other words, we can actually calculate the volume of water produced by these various facilities and calculate the volume of water actually exiting the major transmission line into the various communities. And once this calculation is completed, we can note whether or not there are any differences in that value. So therefore, that will allow us to know whether or not there are leaks in our transmission line. And that will, of course, reduce our NRW or non-revenue water. So that's one of the major values for this. And as the Director of Operations would have stated, from these 4 major facilities, that actually accounts for 31% of our production. So it's quite a large amount. And this is really the start of what we intend to roll out throughout the entire country. And this is in our attempt to increase our operational efficiency with regard to reducing our non-revenue water. Another advantage, of course, would be more equitable distribution of that water to all citizens emanating from those 4 major facilities. So those who live on the extremities of these systems will know that they do experience more water difficulties from time to time. And with the installation of these meters, we'll be able to better monitor and manage the water that actually exits each of the offtakes towards a more equitable distribution of water. So again, I really would like to thank the executive and the board of WASA for being so proactive in terms of investing in this sort of technology. And of course, this is all supported by our minister and the Ministry of Public Utilities. And this, of course, ties into the Operational Control Center and WASA's transformation towards becoming a smart water network with regard to its digital transformation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Romano, for those details. So at this time, you would have heard a lot. I'm not too sure if after all that information we have any questions, but of course, at this point in time, I want to open the floor for any questions from members of the media in relation to these planned works that are coming up. So I'm seeing a question from Mike. From
so many persons won't be affected. I mean, I know you mentioned that over a 72-hour period.
Mic is off.
Well, I guess you can still hear me, right? All right, okay, so let's ask the question again. You mentioned that 500,000 people will be affected. Now, that's a really large number. We're looking at 40% of the population. And a lot of these areas, these persons were already affected by getting a very low water supply. So my question is, why wasn't this broken up into phases so that such a large number of the population is affected at once? And the second part to that question is, how confident are you that within the 72 hours that this entire project could be completed? Because there's a long list of items, repair works, installations to be completed. So are you confident that every person you have located in all these areas are going to be completed at the end on Sunday?
Yes, good morning again, everyone. So the works that are carded for this shutdown entails significantly on the transmission and distribution network. In order for the crews to have access and have the ability to conduct works, that main, which for north and south, that main is a 54-inch diameter, essentially going southward especially, and to have that main dewatered so that the installation can take place, it requires complete isolation and shutdown of the station. So it cannot be done in parts, because it would mean the system will still be energized, and it could have serious implication in terms of risks to workers and crews conducting works. We are very confident of the time frame of all the works, and we expect that these works will be completed within the duration of the shutdown.
All right, I know you mentioned some mitigation measures for persons in the interim during that weekend, one being the truck-borne supply. We're aware that the public complains about getting truck-borne supply on a daily basis, so how many is going to be scheduled, and how persons are going to get access to it? Because I know when persons call the hotlines, it don't work. So are there a specific number of truck-borne water supply you're going to have for that time?
Yes, definitely. So for this shutdown, and even after the period of the shutdown, the authority has operationalized all of our water trucking capacity and expanded on our existing fleet, so that trucks will be deployed to both north and south. But even in addition to the water trucking, I would have mentioned that we will be using some of the alternative sources to integrate or to augment the supply in the area served by Caroni. And that is why I would have mentioned NABET specifically and some of the other stations in the north side. So those stations will be assisting to limit the extent of the impact, and the water truck, of course, will manage the critical areas, the critical institutions. What we are doing is that prior to the shutdown itself, leading up to the shutdown, a couple of days before, the authority will ensure that we manage all schedules to those impacted areas that will be, met with the shutdown, to ensure that we meet the schedules so that persons will have the ability to have their supply and their storage filled, so that the storage, their internal storage, will be able to maintain until we recover the system. And of course, as I've mentioned, we will be publishing the schedules so that persons can look to see the different days when their particular community or area will receive supply after we complete works on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I just wanted to add one thing with regard to the level of confidence. Each of these works will have a specific crew completing all work simultaneously. So that is one of the measures that we would have put in place. And with regard to the difficulties that the members of the public may have previously faced with regard to ordering truck-borne, etc., we have actually increased the number of persons at the contact center. This happened during the dry season, and our wait time is almost zero right now. So we don't anticipate that persons will have difficulty. Thank you.
All right, and at the end, on Sunday, when all the work is completed, how long does it take to roll back all the water supply for everyone to get? What's the timeline between that?
So for different communities, it will be different. And again, it's, it really dependent on geography and location. And some communities, of course, will be restored within 6 to 12 hours. And those are communities, let's say, in the northern area. There are other communities on the south side where recovery will take a little bit much longer. Of course, after works, the transmission system must be re-energized and filter capacity persons will start seeing some low pressures initially until supply is fully restored and storage system starts recovering. So in essence, within 72 hours, all of our schedules will be operationalized. And as we go over the next day or two, then we will be looking to normalize schedules and go back into our normal routine for schedules. Of course, as I've mentioned, these will be published, so persons can look and see, which day, if they have missed on the actual weekend, when would be their next day for full recovery of the schedule.
All right, so that's a 72-hour for the works to be done during the weekend, and a possibility for those at the extremities for another 72 hours. So we're looking at 5 to 6 days, right?
The works actually take place over a 48-hour period.
A 48-hour period.
A 48-hour period. That's from 12 noon on Friday to 12 noon on Sunday.
Right? So you mentioned it was scheduled. We know this was delayed or postponed because of the harsh dry season that we had. So I guess it's quite timely to choose it during the rainy season. We've having a significant amount of rainfall. We're seeing it's increasing. Can you tell us what are the reservoir levels at present?
Okay, so the reservoir levels are not what we expect it to be. That's based on the long-term averages, but they are creeping up in a linear way. At this point in time, I could speak to all, starting with Tobago. Tobago actually is the best performing reservoir with about 75% capacity at this point in time, with the long-term average just about 10% above that, which is about 85 or so percent. Hollis is about 35%. The long-term average is just hovering about 55%. Navet, we are hitting about 35%, and the long-term average is just over 60%. Arena, it's a slow creep. Arena is about 29%, just under 30%, with the long-term average almost double that, which is about 60 or so percent. So just to put it into perspective, it is not where we want it to be, but with prudent management and efficiency, we are managing our distribution network.
So we just also wanted to add that the timing was also, we also considered the closure of schools. So therefore we have less critical customers that will be affected negatively by the shutdown. So we thought it best to do it within this period when school is closed.
Good morning, Kim Woodrum from The Express. Just stay on the reservoirs for a moment. Were there any other considerations that the public would also have to be aware of, like the weather? Because I think we know turbidity sometimes affects the reservoirs. I mean, just other things that I know might be entering the realm of out of control or speculation, but we just want people to be as fully aware of all possibilities.
Yeah, certainly. That's a good question, Kim. With regards to our surface water plants, turbidity will affect it based on the level of rainfall. And I would have mentioned some time ago that we are also proactive about that and modifying some of our plants very soon. Within between this fiscal and next fiscal, we should see some of our plants being modified to deal with that additional turbidity.
We would have liaised with the Met Office very closely, and this was also a consideration for this particular weekend when, based on their prediction, the weather should be good. And with regard to turbidity, these are our major facilities, so they are best equipped to treat with higher levels of turbidity. Yeah.
What about water restrictions? I think they're still ongoing, if I'm...
The water restrictions would have been ended the 31st of July. That doesn't mean to say that you would still not be conserving. The expectation is really to change the way we operate, our culture, in terms of conservation.
Just one more thing, and I don't want us to go too far off topic, but just in terms of overall the plan to have increased supply, if not just in this area, everywhere, by actually creating new sources of water, if we could just speak briefly about that.
Certainly. So the intention really is to localize supply. Now, where we are at, it is the Caroni water treatment plant. This supply reaches as far south as Labrie and as far west, West Moorings. So this very set plant. So the the whole strategy is to localize supply, which means that we would be definitely augmenting the supply and essentially adding more water to the system. What that would provide for is a really equitable, balanced supply, especially in terms of pressures. And we would have the opportunity now to cut back at our major facilities. And in terms of sustainability and resilience, we could work the water per se throughout our network.
Another question, I remember you mentioning the meters. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Part of the installation process is to be able to get data so that we'll be able to ultimately identify how many leaks you have, correct? So at present, can you tell, how many leaks we have right now and what it's like?
Well, just to put it in perspective, before I pass to the director with regards to the leaks. So these meters, the benefits are many. In terms of reducing non-revenue water, it speaks to actually looking at the area served, and the simple arithmetic is that based on the demand and based on the supply, the difference would generally be leakage. It could also be illegal connections. So it takes many benefits. It takes the form of many benefits. But in terms of leakage, in terms of numbers, I know our backlog is about 400, down from 5,000 about a year ago, or a year or two ago. And the current levels are...
So as CEO indicated, our current leak backlog is actually just under 400, and we have been maintaining this level for the past couple of months. Notwithstanding, there are measures being put in place and have been so for the last month, where we have expanded the leak repair capacity. We will be doing more expansion, meaning onboarding additional resources over within this August month, so that we have additional crews placed throughout Trinidad, including Tobago, and that additional crews will allow for more repairs, so the capacity to increase, so that within the next month or two, we will see even more reduction in this number as we go to only basically the current leaks that will come into the system. So a lot has been happening with repair to the leak management. And coupled with that, I could add that there are also measures and plans in place in terms of expanding our ability to manage the road restoration as well. So these things are being rolled out, and within short order, there will be big impact and, of course, a reduction to the public in terms of the number of visible leaks and even the road restoration, outstanding road restoration.
Because that's going to be my next question. I'm going to ask if it's 400 nationwide, both Trinidad and Tobago, and if these include like reported leaks, is it that WASA goes out? Because I could see about 100 in Port of Spain alone. All over the place we see, and if you go on different streets, we see a leak here, a leak there. Next a pothole after WASA do restoration works, we see a leak still, things like that. So how do we record these leaks?
So the number, to the first part of your question, that number represents the entire Trinidad and Tobago. And WASA has many systems in place to document, to record, to detect leaks. And this, of course, being digitized together with our operational center. So we have done massive sanitation where different technical and the crews we have deployed on the ground, and they would have visited all of the areas, all of the scheduled areas, identified all the leaks, sanitized all of our backlogs. This information was then inputted and digitized through our OCC. So where the entire process now has become very digital. Alicia could speak some more on that aspect, but in terms of the actual numbers, those numbers are real. And I would like to mention the Port of Spain area, or that northwest area, is somewhat challenged a little bit more than the other communities within Trinidad, and that is because in the northwest area, those elevated areas require pressures to be boosted. So in that zone, we have the most number of booster stations. Once we boost in the supply to reach those elevated areas, of course, the pressures on the main and the age infrastructure, we tend to have some more leaks in that Northwest community. Notwithstanding, all systems are in place in terms of addressing these leaks. And, you know, sometimes we have to deploy or redirect crews in terms of doing works after working hours, because the crews will have challenges with respect to traffic control, heavy traffic within that Port of Spain area. So there are a number of things that goes into consideration when we programming leaks, especially for Northwest. But I can assure everyone that with the expanded resources that we have added and continue to add over the next few months, these leaks will really be significantly decreased.
And I know you mentioned, CEO, that the reservoirs are not where we want it to be, but we know these things could change when we change seasons, right? But do you think that the population has been conserving water enough? Is it because of we've seen a decrease in the leaks, we're getting more water. So is it that the population hasn't been conserving enough, and that's why we have these shortages of supply still?
Oh, what I could say is that we would have seen with the information that we have, or the meters in some instances that we have, that people are taking heed to the information that we present in terms of conservation. On our side, we would have initiated a lot more efficient methods in terms of usage, in terms of repairing leaks, and being, tightening up in terms of our scheduling and stuff like that. So it's both sides. It's not just the customers. I have seen improvement in terms of conservation on the customer side, and definitely we have been more prudent in the way we manage our supply, particularly from our production facilities.
And just my final question, since I have you here one time, can you give us an update on the transformation progress with WASA? We see that you are still at the helm.
Well, I am here, but that question is not for me to answer.
It's not?
No, that is beyond me.
It's beyond you.
Yes.
Okay, so there are no deadlines yet for any change in management executive?
That is beyond me.
Thank you.
We would like to just add just a question that you had asked before with regard to how our leaks reported. So we would just really like to, remind the media and the public that when we launched our Operational Control Center, we did a sneak peek at a mobile app that we are presently developing and should be rolled out within a few weeks. And this will allow members of the public, once they see a leak, a very simple, user-friendly method to actually report leaks. And this, as the Director of Operations states, comes directly into the Operational Control Center. And the actual management of repairing these leaks will move from a somewhat paper-based one to a completely digitized one, where all of the field operators will actually have tablets within their hands. And this makes accountability far greater and, of course, increase the efficiency such that leak repair into road restoration will be much faster, and we'll be able to account more rigorously for this. So again, we really are moving forward with a digital approach at the Water and Sewage Authority.
Yes. CEO, I don't know if you could probably provide a little more details, because Kimberly raised a point earlier in relation to the seasons and the reservoir levels. Yes, we are currently in the rainy season. You would have heard the levels at our reservoirs. What's important to note is that it takes rainfall and consistent rainfall at that as well over a period in order for those reservoirs to recover. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, because although we are in the rainy season, folks, we've been experiencing rainfall at different times. We are not getting the kind of rainfall at those reservoirs, at those catchment areas, sufficiently to recover our reservoirs to the point that they should be at this point in time. So, I don't know.
Sure. So, you said a lot there, Danny. With regards to the rainfall, our hopes are still high. We expect to get some significant rainfall in the coming months. However, we always have to be prepared for the worst. We have to understand, though, that climate change is real, and what climate change does, it creates extremities. So If it is that is hot, it is really hot. If it is raining, it's a lot of rain. We would have been experiencing some rain, some significant rains. However, I mean, I would have seen a meme where rain wasn't falling over the reservoirs, right? And literally, that could be true. What we would have found is that a lot of the rainfall is occurring on the western side of our country, particularly in Trinidad, and that would attribute to a lower rainfall or lower rainfall patterns at our reservoirs. Our reservoirs are mainly located in the eastern part of the country. Navet Dam in Tabaquite, the Arena Dam at Arena, Hollis in Valencia. However, we have seen the benefits of the rainfall in Tobago. Our reservoirs, the reservoir in Tobago is at acceptable levels. But I would still encourage the public, and this is even as the ban it came to an end on the 31st of July. I still encourage the public to conserve. I mean, I see at times people use hoses and they just have it running. I mean, if it is that you're using a hose, make sure you have a control valve at the end, you spray, you release, and it's closed. You know, as I said before, it is not a punitive measure. It is for us to benefit from water. Water is a limited resource and we have to manage it.
Thank you, CEO. And as we
I mean, we've been hearing the shifting rainfall patterns, I mean, for about at least 15 years, roughly. I would say so, because I think under Patrick Manning, we did hear, he himself would have said that rain is no longer falling. I mean, is there anything that mankind can do, whether sowing seeds in clouds or planting the land to establish microclimates, like very localized microclimates? Because I was actually speaking to a forestry officer once who, in his opinion, he reckoned that the deforestation in eastern areas like Valencia and so forth had contributed to a lessening of the rainfall there. So I don't know if this is anything, if you have geographers who you could consult on this, you know, on what we could do to establish like localized microclimates. I mean, where transpiration from plants could like set up cycles, hopefully, of condensation, if that's a thing.
I mean, you're good. You sound like you would have done a PhD in that. But our reservoirs are typically located in highly, with high vegetation areas. So they are, in a sense, microclimates. However, we still have indiscriminate deforestation, cutting of logs, trees, and we see the effects of it, especially when it comes down with the rain, all the debris, the logs, and it clogs our filters or it clogs our screens. So in terms of microclimates, according to what you said, our reservoirs are located in those areas, highly vegetated areas. However, in terms of supplemental supply, we do have desalination plants. We have a desalination plant located in Point, not we, but we purchase desal water from Desalcut in Point Lisas, as well as 7 Seas in Point Fortin. We are also looking at actually attendance out for the desalination plant in Moruga, as well as Charlottesville.
Thank you, CEO, and thank you, members of the media, for attending this briefing this morning. Of course, we want to, for our customers, and many customers throughout Central, South, and North Trinidad, to be reminded of the pending interruption in their service due to the plant shutdown of the Caroni plant from noon on next Friday the 9th to 12 noon on Sunday the 11th of August. Of course, we want to again encourage our customers to store up their water supply over the course of this week and to conserve their water supply usage, particularly during over the course of the shutdown, and just generally as well. As a society, we need to be able to conserve our water use a lot more. There's room for improvement there. All right, so again, thank you, members of the media, for attending, and thank you to our public and customers at this time. Thank you. Have a good day. Yes.